Welcome back. You're listening to the panel discussion, Transformative Technology, Desktop Virtualization in Government, sponsored by Dell and Ironbow Technologies on Federal News Radio 1500 AM. I'm your moderator, Jason Miller. Our panelists today are Tom Cicella, the Chief Technology Officer for the Army Information Technology Agency, Terry McCaw, the Deputy of the Joint Program Management Office for the Defense Intelligence Agency, Ryan Sobel, the Director of Enterprise Mobility Solutions for Ironbow Technologies, and Keith Maresca, the Senior Sales Manager for Dell Federal Cloud Client Computing and SecureView Multi-Level Security. Gentlemen, before break, we're talking at the very end there about soft costs, the idea of not just power, but also labor. Terry, you were about to jump out your seat there to talk about some of the labor and the soft costs. Pick it up from there. What are you guys seeing as you guys have moved to VDI from a savings standpoint when it comes to soft costs?
Sure. Well, Tom had talked about how he was surprised how many people were out just going to desktops, installing software. So I kind of wanted to piggyback on that, because when we look at where the savings is for us, again, a huge chunk of our cost is in labor. So this helps us tremendously when it comes to Tier 2 or desk side support. Obviously, with a thin client offering to customers, there's a lot less things to go wrong at the endpoint, so we can do a lot more remote administration in support of that customer. There's also the benefit of not losing production time and not having any downtime, as was mentioned earlier. Again, if a customer does have an issue, if there's a patch that's caused a problem or something, they don't have to wait for an IT person to go fix that problem. They can go to another workstation. Again, I mentioned we focus on user mobility, so they could go to a different building if they had to in order to log in and get their session back up, because every time they're logging in, they're getting that clean, gold, pristine image. And so the emphasis for us is on the labor savings that we get. That's been very useful for us, particularly in budgetary constraints and challenging times that we have right now. So that's been a huge benefit.
Let me ask you for two definitions. The first one is when you talk about zero thin client, you're talking about a keyboard, a screen, and a mouse, basically,
Correct.
and then a plug that goes into the wall.
Correct.
We'll simplify it. And then the other thing I want to make sure we know, when you talk about savings and labor savings, do you have a percentage yet? Is it too early? Can you give us any kind of quantify how much savings we're talking about?
Not really. It's too early. I mean, I think the biggest benefit for us is that as we've had some budget considerations and budget challenges with decreasing budgets, it's really been a way for us to provide services to customers to continue to meet their expectations and to do so in light of those physical challenges. So it's a way of showing that we're responding to our customers and to their requirements and finding better, cheaper ways to do things.
Let me turn to Keith or Ryan here. When you guys talk to your clients, is there a savings percentage that you're seeing when you talk about labor costs or just the move to VDI? Ryan? Put them on the spot.
Yeah, great, thank you. So yeah, in terms of cost savings and kind of quantifying that, everyone's different, right? Every agency is different out there. Everyone has their mark, right, or their threshold as to which they're going to quantify savings and say, hey, this is some hard numbers in the sand right here. So, it's tough since VDI is still somewhat new out there to say, hey, listen, I'm seeing a 38% reduction in overall manpower, right, on what it takes to roll out typical desktops versus VDI. So. I really think when I work with different agencies out there, we have a baseline. We have a midpoint, say a year or so or 2 years into it, and further out, right? So, but I really think it takes a good number of years, and that can mean different things to different agencies out there to really quantify that. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is to actually get the numbers, the real numbers out there to say, yeah, we're seeing savings here. We immediately see it on the manpower. There's no question there. There's no question that instead of rolling out your classic desktop and taking 6-7 hours to do that, right? We can roll out a secure, approved image in a matter of actually seconds, really. So there's no question on the manpower, but it does take time to kind of look at the soft costs, right? And really put a number behind that. It just takes time to quantify that and measure that. And that's where we have tools and partners like Dell, one of our great partners there, to help measure that as an agency grows.
All right. Tom?
On that point, we've actually done a little bit of math on this, and we have direct experience or knowledge right now. So what we're seeing on our desktop support contract side as well as our data center side, we're seeing an overall decrease in the number of people it takes to administer the environment. So we actually saw effectively what we have about 6 people managing our environment today from the VDI perspective, and it's equivalent to about 120 blades. It's actually 36 blocks of a specific type of compute capability. And if you compare that to our existing density right now, where it takes about, in our current environment, we have about 500 or so workloads, physical workloads in our environment, in one of our high density computing environments, and we have about 20 or 30 people managing those. So the 6 people managing the entire VDI infrastructure versus about 20 or 30 managing just the physical compute infrastructure, an additional 20 or 30 people managing storage, and then we have an additional 10 or 15 people managing the network. So we're seeing a significant decrease in the number of people required. However, I just want to be clear that we're talking in terms of cost savings. We're actually approaching this much more in terms of a cost avoidance. So we are taking that money and reinvesting it in other areas, right? So the money that we see maybe not needing enough, or not needing as many system administrators, is now we take those resources and we apply them to maybe virtualization of the application or virtualization of the network, which is emerging right now, and storage virtualization and better data management, better enterprise data lifecycle management, and other things like this. So there is a little bit of cost savings. The direct cost savings, which is the decrease in the hardware and the software costs, right, is kind of straightforward. Those are characterized as direct savings, but the labor savings is more of a cost avoidance. And it does take the government longer with our contracts and whatever. We saw the crossover point is about 3 years for us, where we start seeing the ability to affect contracts and the ability to decrease the amount of time it takes for us to get out there and then manipulate our acquisition environment. So for HQDA, for example, we think it's going to be in about a 3-year window from when we're going to see the crossover to see actual bona fide savings.
And I know we talk a lot about cost savings, but I agree with you most of the time when you talk to government folks and industry, it's all about cost avoidance and moving those resources, as you guys did, from point A to point B. Let's talk about now how to get there. Now, we've talked a lot about what the benefits are and whether it's soft costs or hard costs, but a lot of agencies, and I think, Ryan, let me start with you, because a lot of the things you've talked about was a lot of agencies, your customers have gotten to virtualization from a data center perspective, but how do they get to the VDI? So what are the first initial steps that they should be thinking about to move in that VDI direction?
Yeah, so a great question again. So, really when you have your initial baseline there, and you have your architecture on the server side, on the data center side, moving over to the desktop side, it's not the technology. The technology is there. It does work. But the way Ironbow goes about looking at a virtual desktop infrastructure is understanding the business side of the house. So there's that other piece to the puzzle that certain folks don't really kind of realize. They look at the technology and they study the technology and they want to see how it works and hot ports and cold ports and thin clients and zero clients. What should we do here? But really, the key is understanding your users and what they're doing, what they need, understanding the business side of the house. If you can say, hey, I understand how this agency rolls out typical physical desktops today, and somewhat mimic that, granted there's certain changes that have to take place, but somewhat mimic that onto the virtual side, you'll be successful. So my advice out there would be understand the business side of the house. Really kind of get entrenched with the different organizations, the different groups on there, the different clientele, what they're expecting, what they're not expecting, and understand how to roll out those virtual desktops. And then, of course, take it one step after that. After you understand that side of the house, well, then how do you manage them? So that would be kind of my advice out there is, how do you take it from the back-end data side to the virtual desktop side? And that's really kind of comes with understanding the business side of the house, which is important.
Right, Keith?
There's several steps that I think are critical in this journey as you're attempting to go to a virtualized desktop environment. One is you need to firmly understand everyone's requirements, not just the IT administrator, but also the end users. Two is important to also do an assessment of your environment. Too often we find that the perception and the reality are vastly different. And there are people who say, "Oh, I use this all the time," and when you do the assessment, you find out all the times, 10 minutes every other week. So you have to get past those things. The next aspect is the Me Too requirements. We see right now a lot of things with virtualization, 3D graphics, and there are requirements. People go, "Oh, I need that." Well, that's a costly investment. Not everyone needs that to go watch YouTube, okay? You need it for the for the business. So doing that assessment is critical, and getting those requirements and defining what your end state is that you want to get to. What is that happy medium between the IT administrators and the end users? Because you're going to have to find the happy medium. Because remember, the secure environment is one that no one ever uses. There's that terrible dichotomy there that you have to fight through. So do that assessment, nail down those requirements.
Let me turn to Terry for a second. When you guys started to go down the path of VDI, how many of those steps did you follow? Or should have Keith called you earlier and told you the steps a few years ago?
That might have helped. I think it really comes down to, like he said, understanding your customer and their business, and understanding what's important to your customer. Again, as IT professionals, that's probably one of the biggest challenges we have, is because, again, we think everything has an IT solution, and we really don't think of it from the perspective or the lens of our customer. So what is it that's important to them when it comes to the service that you're providing? For us, obviously, we captured lessons learned as we did numerous iterations of providing thin client solutions to our customers. But the big piece of it for us, I think, was a consistent user experience, a consistent customer experience, and also understanding we have a very global workforce. So it's a matter of being able to provide that consistent experience to customers regardless of where they're sitting, and again, a customer workforce that's very mobile, moves around quite a bit, and then making sure that, again, the expectation is no downtime. I need to be able to access the applications that I need. I need to be able to do the work that I have to do. And if there's a problem and there's some sort of issue and I can't get access to my applications and my data, I need to be able to go somewhere else immediately and log on and get that access.
Now, do you guys have any kind of customer governance council or user group? How are you guys dealing with that?
So we have a very strong governance structure in place, in which part of that, there's numerous levels of it, but part of that is where we do bring the stakeholders at the table. We essentially have a roundtable where we look at things such as applications rationalization. We look at all the applications that we have in the enterprise. We bring them to the table and we say, okay, what is it that's really important to you? And again, look at it from a requirements perspective, understanding they have applications today, but what is it that they need for the future, and making sure that what we're providing today is able to grow in that direction, or do we need to make some major adjustments and shifts?
Let me shift to Tom from the Army Information Technology Agency. When you guys were working with the Joint Staff to get their pilot going, and they kept saying now, how did you bring to their attention, hey, how many apps do you have? Can we only can rationalize so many? What was the process?
So we actually had an entire team of folks, it was called our stakeholder engagement team, that was responsible for two things. Not only communication with the customers and the people that are going to be participating in the pilot and the ultimate rollout, but also responsible for gathering their input. And so we did have an advantage that Hampton Roads, what is now Joint Staff South, used to be JFCom, had already virtualized. They've done the VDI, and they've already virtualized a large percentage of applications. They had about 83 applications that were already virtualized. So they had some really good data that we leveraged there as well. But one thing that we were able to settle upon, which is, as IT guys, we generally don't necessarily think this way, but we were able to actually create tiers of users inside the environment, and what we call the kind of casual user, the power user, and then the extreme power user. And something that we realized after we went into the pilot, this was a lesson learned from the pilot that we applied to production, is the vast preponderance of our system administrators are actually power users. They are doing things that the casual users are not doing. And the people that claim to be power users generally are not taking up that much compute resources. We did see, as was mentioned earlier about the graphics processing, we did an analysis, and none of the pilot users needed 3D acceleration, but we knew through experience and through some of the telemetry that we were gathering that there are users out that need it. Specifically, in the DoD land, we kind of I speak in terms of the mission space, right? Is really where the mission is being done, as opposed to the back office or the business administration or even the IT side are considering enablers to the mission, right? So a lot of the mission guys are out there using extremely high-end applications, especially in the geospatial arena. A lot of the planning and targeting take up a significant amount of resources. So we did actually set aside, and we bought additional type of hardware that had graphic accelerators built into them, so that we can accelerate them. And then we do have, what we notionally call the really, really long monitor cable for the users that really need the power. We will dedicate an actual physical piece of hardware to them, and then tunnel that monitor cable over our network as a kind of a remote location. So that's an interesting capability that I actually got the idea from Ironbow and VMware as well. So,
Keith.
Yeah, I think it's also important to remember, and Tom brings up a great point. Maybe not everyone is a candidate to be virtualized, and you need to, if someone come in and say we're going to virtualize 100%, is setting themselves up probably for disappointment. There is, probably several standard deviations. 20 to 80% can be virtualized. And also, maybe not for everyone will a zero client or thin client work. You may need that power of compute closer to that user, especially in a high graphics intense environment. So you may need something like a precision workstation. So something different than just a thin client. But again, the requirements will help you define who those users are, so you're not sitting there and wasting money needlessly.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. There's plenty more to talk about. You're listening to the panel discussion, Transformative Technology, Desktop Virtualization in Government, sponsored by Dell and Iron Bow Technologies on Federal News Radio 1500 AM. I'm your moderator, Jason Miller. Our guests today are Tom Cicella, Chief Technology Officer for the Army Information Technology Agency, Terry McCaw, Deputy in the Joint Program Management Office for the Defense Intelligence Agency, Ryan Sobel, the Director of Enterprise Mobility Solutions for Iron Bow Technologies, and Keith Maresca, the Senior Sales Manager for Dell Federal Cloud Client Computing and SecureView Multi-Level Security. We'll be right back.